Here we go. This is the December Grit workshop, and we are very excited to be talking about the mental health code. We have a couple of the facilitators for this new certificate they've got put together for us. But this is brought to you by Grit, and this will be available as a recording. And I'm going to slowly just keep emitting more people into the room as they come. But the floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having us. We are thrilled to be able to announce that we have built out a certification with some mental health professionals in addition to our team. And we're really excited about this. It's called the Mental Health Advocate Certification. And what this class is about, it's an 8-week certification, and you get to go through the science, the what's going on. There's a lot of things with mental health where it's very surface level. This is getting into the nuts and the bolts. So as corporations are coming out and they're, coming out of the fog, so to speak, of 2025, it seems like, what we're finding is almost zero corporations are ADA compliant. So when it comes to mental health. So we have built a course that will be incredibly helpful. So this certification is 8 weeks. It's 5 weeks of science and theory. So we're talking about disease state. We're talking about anatomy, biology. Nobody, unless you're in the mental health field, really understands the biology behind what mental health really is. So when you're thinking about that, oh,
Oh, what happened?
uh-oh. Oh, let me see what happened. Hang on.
Okay. And she was saying such great information. Oh, here she comes. Here we go. I'll admit her. A minor technology glitch. No worries.
Sorry.
All good.
Sorry about that. I hope
No
that you
problem.
can edit a little
Yeah,
bit.
she's
Okay.
calling from LA, so it's all good.
Okay, so I apologize.
No
So the first
problem.
5 weeks are science, and the science side of this is disease state. So we're talking about depression, we're talking about anxiety, we're talking about bipolar disorder. And then we go into the anatomy and physiology and biology of what really is going on behind mental health. So let me give you a couple of examples. You have neurotransmitters, and you have brain circuits. So your amygdala is a brain circuit. That's your alarm center for your brain. If there is something going on in your immediate area and your amygdala is going off, that means that you're worried, that you have anxiety, etc. So that can be a chemical response, that can be a circumstantial response. So if you don't have serotonin receptors that are open and serotonin is not getting into your cells, that is why a lot of people have major depressive disorder. So there are things like that from an anatomy and physiology side that are really important to start to understand, because the stigma is silly. It is just as much a physical disease as it is a thought disease, or what people are calling mental health challenges or issues. So we do that. Then we have case studies. We go through case studies where, if you are in corporate America, if you're an independent contractor, if you own your own business, if you are a police officer, any of our first responders, if you're a teacher, if you are a nurse or in a hospital system, all of those will have case studies that are really interesting for people to be able to dive into and really, really work towards the understanding of what happens in all these different types of circumstances. So then you can really learn from that. And then it's really the how do we communicate? So, how do we communicate effectively as advocates? It's not just the shiny, rosy type of thing. It's getting in there and really helping and serving and providing resources. So, as you're thinking about your own mental health, as you're thinking about wanting to be a part of something a little bit bigger than yourself and do some meaningful work, this certification is phenomenal. And as you are building and building your own life, how do you really start to understand what is going to really bring you internal peace? This is a course that is going to give you a lot of just explanation about what is physically going on in your body that is attributing to your mental health. Bing, do you want to add anything to that?
No, but I think what we could do if you'd like to is go through the syllabus that we have created for the course.
Sure. That
You want
let
me
me
to pull
pull.
it up? Because I know you were on your
I was going to
phone.
say that would be
I
great,
might
Jennifer.
That
be
would
able
Do
be
to
that.
do
great.
that. Okay.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I would love to hear what everybody's kind of perception of all this because I had taken a Brene Brown certification, and one of the things that they had us do was kind of determine where the stress is in our body. And I know
Mhm.
it's different for all of us. So like mine is like tingles in my head when I'm ultra stressed, and then I carry it in my upper shoulders too. So do you guys
Mhm.
have that in your curriculum as well, where like you help identify where you get more
So
alignment?
our courses, yes, like it's very different for very different types of personalities as well as individuals. If you've got a type A personality and you are on the go all the time, etc., it is something that you will really have things going on in your back many times, in your shoulders, sometimes in your hips and in your knees. It formulates in your joints.
All right, I'm pulling up the document now. Is that pretty much on par with everybody else? Is that where they kind of carry their stress?
It just depends on each individual. It depends how you sit every day.
Oh,
If you're
wow.
kind of leaning over a computer and you're working on things morning, noon, and night, that's going to be different stress points versus somebody who's more active in their day, like a police officer or a nurse or somebody who is walking around a lot. So it's also very different for people that are standing up in their roles every day versus sitting down. And it depends also, are you carrying heavy things, heavy equipment, heavy, um, I don't know, just heavier things. So, yeah,
I would be so curious to see what the brain looked like when it was ultra stressed because I bet that is just fascinating.
we can absolutely show you that. I can send you just some pictures that might be really interesting for you to add in.
Cool. All right, and Amy just joined us. So, Amy,
Great.
what we're doing is we're going over a mental health certification, and we have some of the facilitators here, and we've just pulled up their syllabus. So, I'm
Okay,
going to
sorry
mute
I'm
you,
late.
and
I
you
had
can
a
take over.
crisis I was dealing with.
No, no sorries. Okay. Can you see the syllabus?
I can now. Thank you so much.
There's an echo.
What?
There's an echo now. Oh
Oh,
no, that might have been
maybe
Amy.
maybe I need a mute.
You muted.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have an 8-week mental health advocate certification, and I just wanted to go through the syllabus a little bit because it's important to really understand, when we're thinking about common disorders that we all have, right? It's depression sometimes. Sometimes that's chemical, sometimes that's circumstantial, but understanding and getting to the root of that, getting to a greater understanding of suicide. We have got to talk about that. The numbers have gone up so much. The average year, 720,000 people around the world die by suicide. This year, so far, we're not even at the end of the year. It's over 940,000 people. And so we're seeing massive rises. As you look at data as well, from the age of 10 years old to 24 years old, it is the second leading cause of death. Second leading cause, just, the first leading cause of death, unfortunately, is by gun violence. But the second leading cause of death for kids, 10 to 24, is suicide. You guys, we got to do something about this. We've got to be more willing to help, to serve, to advocate for. And as you go down and look at the skills in week one that we're looking for, is really you all having the ability to recognize symptoms, and then also from an empathy standpoint and a compassion standpoint, how do you interact with somebody who is facing mental health challenges, and what knowledge can you gain in regards to how do I refer to healthcare providers? Because as an advocate, you are not a doctor. You are not in that space. So what we need to do is really make sure that we have, as just human beings, really, really good referral processes. So one of the only homework assignment with the certification is pulling in your referrals and people that you know that will be helpful. So that's mental health professionals. That might be social services in your community. In Los Angeles, we have a 211 number where if you need help paying your electric bill or you need mental health help, it all kind of falls underneath this social services piece of it. And then we really go into the biology of depression and anxiety. So, let's think about our brains. And it's not only the mental side of the house, but it's the physical, the brain circuits, as well as the neurotransmitters. So if you think of the neurotransmitters kind of like the highways, and the brain circuits, the actual buildings of how serotonin, how norepinephrine, how dopamine, how glutamate all get to and from each part of your body. That is a lot of what we go through. And we look at, in terms of the skills developed, really an understanding of various factors that include genetics, that are part of your neurobiology, that influence behavior and treatment responses. So, and then we have informed discussions about treatment options. Although we will never diagnose and we will never give treatment options, it's really, really important to understand what those are, especially from like, okay, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is like going to a therapist, and mixing that with the appropriate medication is the best opportunity to start to really find that internal peace and feel better. That's really important. And then,
I
when
have
we
a
think,
question. When
sure,
you're talking about that type of therapy, I've been hearing a lot about this EMDR, where it's
yep.
really like intense therapy. What's your
Mhm.
thoughts on that?
It works really well for some people. It might be too much for others. It's really an individualized experience. And, from a EMDR, from a ketamine treatment, when you're starting to see some of these other treatments that are coming really to the main systems, we're seeing that mainstream pick that up. I would just caution you, like, try what is tried and true first. And a lot of times that's cognitive behavioral therapy and actual medication. If that doesn't sit with you well, right? Like if you're like, I am not going to pop a pill. Okay, great. Try EMDR, try ketamine. I will tell you, I did ketamine for pain. I have Cushing's disease, and I did ketamine for pain in my legs. And I will tell you, the experience was really, really rough. And I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. It's
I'm
like
not
you
familiar with ketamine. I must be super out of the loop. I don't even know what that is. What is ketamine?
No, it is literally like like a mushrooms type, a psilocybin plus anesthesia. So you cannot move your body, and it's for about 45 minutes. They give you an injection, but so the first couple of days I found that to be incredibly brutal. And then it was like, oh my God, the trees are greener and the grass is greener. And so over time that it it definitely had benefits. The other thing that I know is a little kooky, but I'm going to bring it up. I have a service dog, and he is amazing. He does work with me. He also, in the Los Angeles fires, he now works with 71 of the kids that are still affected by, they're still out of their houses, kind of a thing, and living in somebody else's house that it's not their own space. It's not the stuff that, in terms of when there's a fire, that is the beginning, but like now there's not a lot of routines. There's not a lot of safety in, like, okay, this is where my toothbrush goes, because you might be going from house to house or things of that nature. So service animals, as well as just having a dog, some people like cats in the same way. It's really, really beneficial. And I can certainly send you some information about George. He's at Curious George the Great Dane on Instagram. And our mental health code is also at mental health code on Instagram. So if you keep scrolling down, and we're talking a little bit more about medication and treatment modalities, you know, this is just an overview in our course, because obviously this takes doctors to make sure that that they are diagnosing correctly, and then putting people on the right medication. The challenge with medication with mental health is it takes 3 to 6 weeks to really sink into your system. So in a world where we like instant gratification and instant solutions, um, medication is not necessarily going to give you that immediate response. So we really talk about, having the adherence to stay on the medication, and what are the side effects, and um, things like you might have heard of SSRIs. That only really works with serotonin. Okay, so but then there's something called an SNRI, which works with norepinephrine as well as serotonin. And then you can keep getting more severe as you go down the line, based on the very specific brain circuits and neurotransmitters that you're struggling with in your area. So this is going to really give you some insight on how these medications work, kind of in conjunction with psychotherapy. So
And I
really,
have a
really,
question too. I just heard
yes.
recently, supposedly those SSRIs,
Uh-huh.
long-term effect, they lead to dementia.
So I don't know I'm going to let the scientists talk about that. Um, I, I
Yeah,
I definitely don't want to get in the middle
right.
of all of that, because what I would tell you is that although there might be long-term side effects, if you are struggling to get out of bed every day, and you are super sad, hopeless, etc., I would take okay, you know what? I can get up now at 6 o'clock in the morning every day and really, go to work and have good days and find inner peace. So I think that, when every drug is going to have a side effect to some degree, but I would leave it to the doctors to talk about that. And then we really get into suicide and suicide prevention, and really identifying kind of not just the risk factors, but how urgent is somebody in what they're talking about, like in terms of warning signs. Are they putting stuff on social media that is like, "Ooh, I wish I didn't wake up this morning," or something like that? Obviously, that is somebody who is really contemplating suicide. Um, but it's really, really important to have the resources and the referral partners, whether that is, if we feel like it's urgent, it is going straight to the hospital, it's calling 988. There are definitely ways that you can contribute to helping somebody build their life back up, versus where they are. A lot of it comes from um, truly isolation versus connection. After COVID, so many people have not gotten out of isolating. And not that they're isolating every day of every minute type of a thing, but so many more of us work from home. So you're not necessarily having the interactions, even the small interactions that you might have had at one point. What I would suggest from an isolation standpoint versus getting out and connecting with people, go somewhere every day, whether it's just to grab a coffee or it's to go exercise outside or it's just to move your body, right? Like go somewhere every day and connect with somebody. And it might just be honestly holding the door open for somebody and looking at them in their eyes and, smiling. Um, I'm really lucky. My service dog comes everywhere with me, and he happens to be this enormous Great Dane. So if I want to have any kind of conversation, all I have to do is leave my house with him. And even though I can be shy just to meet new people, the dog creates instant conversation. So I am a really, really big proponent of if you have mental health, sadness, if you have depression, if you have anxiety, sometimes an animal can really, really make a difference. But back to suicide a little bit here, like when you think about suicide in general and the significance of timing and how do we get to people who are stressed that might not appear to have that extreme of a mental health challenge at the moment. We are not doctors. However, we can see signs, right? We can see people staying at home. We can see people when they do go out, maybe they're a little quieter than they normally are. Maybe they are just withdrawn overall, or you can see that um, they're not super friendly like they used to be, or just something has changed in their personality. Also, they might not physically be looking their best. So let's say they might not be showering, they might not be brushing their teeth. It's those kinds of things that become these monster tasks for people. And it's easier to bed rot, right? Have you heard the phrase bed rotting, where people like literally can stay in their bed all day? And the challenge with that is that that only takes you down a very slippery slope of sadness and depression. So again, I am a huge proponent of ask for help when you need it. Ask for help. Nobody wants to do it, but as we get older, ask for help. It's easy to do if you can let your pride kind of down. And then we really go into advocacy skills and behavioral health integration. So as you're thinking about getting just more literate about mental health, having a greater sense of awareness, it's huge. It's so important. And so think through what would it take to reduce stigma with some of your friends that are like, oh, mental health, they're just crazy. They're not just crazy. They have physical as well as circumstantial challenges in the moment. So this is really a training in communication and overcoming barriers. So when you think about leadership that is within any organization, whether it's a nonprofit, a for-profit, an individual, this is really a training in communication and understanding, and then taking the skills that you already have and building upon those skills. Um, it's significant. This role is vital in bridging the gaps between, really mental health services and that individual that really needs adequate care and support within their communities. When we go into the case studies and the practical applications, when we really start diving into that, it's really about applying knowledge. So, these are complex scenarios. If you have depression, you don't typically just have depression. You might have three other diseases. Think about somebody who has just gotten a breast cancer diagnosis. Do you think that depression comes along with that? It definitely does. Do you think having a group of people around you that might be going through some of the same things is helpful? It is. So I know it takes a lot sometimes to reach out, and sometimes it takes a minute to find the right people, your people, people that you resonate with. But if you're willing to do that, you can really make progress. And the advocates that we are working with have done exemplary work, and we're really excited to see how this just continues to build and build and build. There's a lot of critical thinking and analytical skills with every disease, and there's people are going to AI, it seems like, for everything, which is great. It's going to give you information that you need very quickly. And you also need the human touch, right? You need to be around humans. You need to be in a connecting type of scenario. And um, it's great to, use, we are in the digital era for sure, right? But just being able to apply theoretical knowledge in realistic scenarios, it really enhances problem solving skills. So, as we're in our daily grind, right? Wouldn't it be great to be able to communicate a little bit more effectively and enhance problem solving skills? Would your day be a little bit easier if you were able to do that? So it's great to talk about some of the what I call the airy fairy um, types of scenarios. However, it is really important to understand what's behind that and how we can really help people and serve people. That's pretty much it. So we do a lot of our courses, not all of them. We do a lot of them via Zoom or Teams. And your certification is really given to you along with that resource list that is so important. So successful completion of that assignment and the assessment, you will get a certificate. And it takes about 16 to 24 hours across 8 weeks to really get involved, really get your certificate and then start to get involved with different projects. We're really excited. We're starting to have conversations with many police departments around the country, and that has been terrific.
It's wonderful. Does anybody have any questions? This is a lot of incredible content.
I know. I was just thinking that there's so much information. I love this.
Great.
I just connected with both of you ladies on LinkedIn as well. But
Oh, terrific.
because I work in the construction space, and that Jen and I used to both kind of work in the construction space because her dad owns a mason contracting company as well.
Oh, great.
And a lot of our clients are in there. We met this, I don't know if you know this guy, Brandon Anderson. He speaks for the AGCMO on suicide prevention and construction. And
No, I
he's
don't.
got these coins made on the 988 number. And he did say that like suicide rates for construction workers are like 5 to 6 times higher than any other construction related death, which is, I
Yes,
thought, insane. But because maybe guys don't like to talk about their feelings,
you
or a
bet.
lot of the ones have more dangerous jobs, like they
Yeah,
might be adrenaline junkies anyway, or maybe I don't know, there could be drug components, but it's higher for construction, so they want to, bring awareness to that. So he's just a wonderful speaker on the topic, which I thought was interesting. You mentioned the 988 number, and I had heard about that.
yeah,
And then COVID, I do spend a lot of time going to try to teach my young accountants how to network, because nobody knows how to do it, and they don't contact people, and they don't want to talk to people, and they don't want to go to events, and they just kind of stay at home. So there's always a risk for that, just kind of staying at their computer.
you bet. Yeah.
And then I didn't know it affected your joints too. That was another thing. And then pets
Oh,
are definitely huge therapy animals. So
yes.
and then mental health and the gun violence. I was just thinking of all these things because my brain's kind of ADD. So yeah, I thought it was
Well,
great.
listen, I am more than happy to have a conversation outside of this as well. And if there are opportunities that we can go out and serve, we want to do it. There's no doubt about it. And what happens a lot of times is, especially if we have a group of people, we can, and they're all in the same city. We can definitely do like the first class live, because then it at least we can all in essence break bread together, like that's something that just getting people to, and we can certainly do it digital and live because that sometimes works as well. It's always virtual, but to be able to have that first one where people can see each other, and whether there is 7 people in the room or there's 100 people in the room, this really, really makes a difference. Not a little difference, a really big difference.
So how is this course set up? Like, um, who's the target for taking it? Anybody
Mhm. You
or
know,
yeah.
So we are spending a lot of time, police departments, fire departments, teachers, nurses, construction workers would be great. Like that is an area, real estate agents, anybody also like that sits behind a desk. So accountants would be terrific because what happens is you just start to go quieter and quieter. And especially with a lot of accountant personalities, who tend to be very analytical in general, that sometimes like that becomes a very deadly combination of not getting out from behind your computer and having a very analytical personality.
And I think to add to that also, Marianne, is that since I'm an HR consultant and
Mhm.
we are targeting HR folks as well as corporations with management teams, because what I saw, and this is why Kelly and I really got into mental health code together, was because HR folks, managers would come and say, Amy, I'm just going to pick on you for a second because I know you. And it's like, hey, Amy was a great worker. But then now she's not, and what's going on in her life? They don't care. They're just like, well, she's not producing. So then they write them up and then they end up trying to terminate them. They're not really trying to understand what's going on. And I've just seen that in industry a lot. Whereas if we can actually get to leadership teams in corporations, they can help identify that quicker and understand than just saying, oh, they're a horrible worker right now. We're going to write them up and let them go.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's good.
People are so willing to cut ties with the smallest amount of patience. And what I would say is that we gotta like breathe for a second. If somebody's struggling, really good point, Bing. But if somebody's struggling, like let's get to the bottom of it if they're willing to share and or get them the resources that they need. We can no longer say, "Oh, we've got mental health awareness week." That's great, but that's not getting to the root of the problem. That's not helping in what we're really able to actually do in today's world with the resources that mental health code has.
Well, and to also add on to that, it's the ADA, which is the American Disability Act, because it is mental health is protected under that today. And what I've seen is corporations. I mean, I have a live example with the company of mine right now that I'm working with. They had a gentleman that has PTSD from being in the war. And he's like, people are coming after me and I need to take a gun with me. Well, he's a salesperson. So he feels like he's going. So what do you do with that? He's already announced that he has PTSD. So then, of course, the managers came to me and said, we need to fire him. And I'm like, he's already disclosed that he has PTSD, right? And he has certification from his doctor that says PTSD. So now if you terminate him, you're going to end up in a lawsuit. So a lot of this is also educational purposes for those leadership teams and
You bet.
HR folks that have to understand, because what we don't understand today, and I will say when I ask HR folks, they didn't even know that mental health was covered under ADA.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. I did not know that either.
Yeah.
I mean that's wonderful.
I wish there was more advocacy for divorce because I mean, as soon as you have
Yeah.
some sort of loss, like anxiety, depression, it all sets in because you're talking about that bed rot. I experienced that, and here I am leading an association,
Yeah,
publishing a book, and I'm supposed to be the community creator, and I
yeah,
experienced that. So it's like I wish there was some sort of just like PTSD, but a PTSD for divorce.
you bet. This course definitely talks to things like divorce in it because, to your point, first of all, we're sitting around, I think we're now up to 60, around 60% of marriages end in divorce. And that is a horrible, horrible mental health challenge, right? Like all of a sudden you're alone. You are doing your own thing, and that's tricky, like especially if you haven't spent a lot of time by yourself before and your kids are splitting time and all of that. I remember when my son went to my ex-husband's house those first couple of years, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" Like it's devastating to not see your child every day, right? Like that's part of you. So, yes, there is definitely work that is part of this advocacy program tied to divorce.
Yeah, that what about for teenagers because of the social media? Because
You
I
bet.
just see this and I just saw that Australia actually banned social media under 16,
Yes.
which is brilliant because I
Yes.
wish and my daughter said that she would go along with it if the whole country did it, but she can't be the only one who doesn't know the TikTok dances. So
Yeah.
I would want, I mean, because it's so stressful. They see where their friends are, they're at a party, they didn't get invited. It's just
You
so, and they're
bet.
comparing themselves to all these beautiful women and like, oh, they look so great and they're so happy. And why am I so sad? It's horrible.
So we have something called KIDS Code, and
Ooh.
code stands for connect, observe, discover, and empower. And we bring that into the Pasadena PAL program with the kids that have been affected by the fires. But we're also doing that within other groups of children and it is so successful, you guys. It is something that, as we look at that for adults, we also look at that for college kids. We look at that for high school kids. We look at that for even younger. My 7-year-old, not mine, but the Pasadena Pal kids that are 7 to 10, like if I like am walking by them and I say to them, like, what does code stand for? And, we just kind of talk through that a little bit. They know it like the back of their hand. And I'm like, okay, who are you connecting with today? What are you observing today? What have you discovered today? And how can I help you feel empowered today? Like it's really like bringing them into the conversation and not talking about necessarily like, the really hard stuff with them, but building up their confidence. And that connecting is so, so, so important.
Yeah, definitely the confidence and the connecting for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. That's amazing. I mean, anything you can do to help the kids would be just huge because
You
I feel
bet.
like that's, yeah, I can see like a lack of confidence in them. I don't
Yeah.
know what's this. Maybe I enable my kids too much. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I've got my own issues too, but I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like
There's
they
so
just,
much work to be done in that space. And again, like suicide rates 10 to 24, the second leading cause of death. Like there is so much to be done in that space. And any group that you can think of, like we can, not we, like if you guys can find a sponsor to cover the fee, like we'll come in and we'll do it. Like it's our pleasure to
what
like
is the sponsorship fee?
so it just depends on how many people are there, and I can certainly talk to you offline about it. But if we do, a true room full of kids, so I'm talking about somewhere between 50 and 100, you're looking at about, I think it ends up being around $147 a child in that space. And
Okay.
it depends if you are wanting to do that multiple times, like if we're going to go like with our pal kids that have gone through the fires, we have been there every week for the last 10 months, right? But if it's just every day, and then usually coming in once a quarter is really the way to go, so we can continue building on what we have started to talk to them about. And then it's also like with that group of people, like giving the parents little homework assignments of, maybe putting code up on their refrigerator, things like that, that just the reminders, right? Kids are all over the place, as well as all of us, right? But it's those little reminders of having, a code, something code on your refrigerator, something code on the back of the door, perhaps of their bedrooms or on their little nightstands. And we have all of that material that we can help facilitate.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Very cool. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
I just want to say thank you for this discussion because, ironically, the reason I was late is I also have a company that I'm working with that they're a general contractor, and there's a lot of triangulating going on where the owner's two kids work there and the kids aren't carrying their weight, and so people are calling me, and so I'm encouraging them to have conversations
Mhm.
directly with the people involved because, again, I know if I go directly to the owner, um, that's going to cause her to want to retaliate against those people. So it's been a really tricky situation. But it's all, that the reason I'm bringing this up too is the person I was talking to. I mean, she's like, I'm working 14 hours a day. She's crying, and I'm like, the first thing is put yourself first. I mean, yourself, then your people, and then your work. But right now, your whole life is your work first, your people second,
Yes.
and you're putting your self care last. No wonder you're so upset by a text. I didn't say that part to her, but
Yeah.
somebody sent her, the owner sent her a text about something she didn't agree with, and she just blew up about it. And it just got me to see that I think this month of the year, people are stressed out, the holidays, anyone in sales or business, it's year end. So,
You bet.
it's just, yeah, I really just want to say I appreciate this whole topic.
One of the things that might be really terrific is instead of going to anybody and having those direct conversations, it might be educating and then somebody who already knows the background of it. And I'd love to do it, but somebody who knows a little bit more of the background can then kind of address it through education versus, you know, picking somebody out. But here's the thing, you guys, nobody can continuously work 10 to 14 hours a day and live a healthy life. They just can't. And I'm not trying to be, airy fairy and idealistic, but it's great to work 14 hours a day for, once in a blue moon kind of thing. It's fine to work 10 hours a day, maybe one day a week. But like, we got to get back to a little bit more balance because you're going to get so much more out of it. And I was just actually talking with a doctor who decided to reduce her hours. She's a surgeon and she's like, the hospital wants me to bill X amount of hours. And she's like, that then gets me from literally operating room to operating room to operating room. And she was like, now I'm so much better because I'm not going that fast and that hard. And there's not nearly as many mistakes. And she's really starting to encourage um, she's really starting to encourage the slowing down on the hours and not letting the hospital systems just like hammer them with uh, too many hours and too many surgeries. It's not good for us, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also heard that a lot of doctors and nurses, all they have to do is like log information now and they have to put everything there, which is normal, but they're like, they can't do the patient care. There's not enough people to help them. They
Yeah.
just have to like take notes all day. And that's what a lot of people are saying, even in other roles. Like
Yeah.
they can't really take care of their customers the way they want to because they've got to put all this information in. They have thousands of meetings and they just can't really, service the customers like they used to because there's a lot of like politics and logistics and things to jump around.
Did we freeze?
Oh, I don't know. And I was also
There we go.
wondering about
Yep, that's okay. We're good.
I thought about a new thing too. Someone mentioned like just having a gratitude journal and writing down 3 things you're grateful for.
Yep.
And I thought that would be, if I do that, and I don't do it every day consistently, but even when my kids are complaining, if I tell them to come up with 3 things, that they're grateful for, it
Mhm.
does seem to make you not feel as bad. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
just think there's a problem in general, like across the board. I don't know. Everybody thinks, someone has something
Yeah.
better than them. And it just seems like I hear that a lot from my kids.
Yeah. It's really, you guys, mental health affects everybody, every kid, every adult. I mean, and this is not self-serving, but if people were smarter about their own mental health and really started to look at their circumstances a little bit differently versus how they've been doing it for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, if you're truly open to having a greater understanding, then getting educated about this is a really, really good idea.
I,
Is there
Bing, is there
information?
anything else? Oh,
I
sorry, go
Oh, is
I
ahead.
there
just think this
information on your
topic is
course?
so important. Yes, that's what I'm
Okay.
helping. I can send this out if you want
Oh,
to get
yeah.
the syllabus out. I can send it out to everybody on the call. But this topic is so important, and that's essentially why Grit was founded because of that loneliness epidemic that
Yeah.
was, what was it, published by the mental health, what was it, like the Surgeon General. But
Yes.
because there's such a need for this, and especially when we're working in silos like this, it's hard to have community. So
Yeah.
I love your content, and everything that was shared today was really helpful.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Truly, like getting in front of you guys, it's my favorite thing to do is share everything and really be a part of something that's special. And for the last 3 weeks, I have been interviewing potential teachers for us. And I cannot begin to tell you the amazing women that are out there looking to teach this course. They're all between, master's degrees and PhDs but really community people that are looking to help others build. And it just, even though I've been working crazy hours the last few weeks, it has been the most wonderful few weeks to be around people that really want to make a difference in the community. And especially, like, again, we're all in our silos, right? We don't
Yeah.
necessarily know that there's 20,000 other people that are kind of feeling the same way. They might be down and they might be lonely a little bit, but when we all get together, it it just changes everything. And Bing and I were talking about this literally, I don't know if it was last night or this morning but like our whole, since we've been building this out and since this certification has been written over the last 6 months, it has literally changed the game for us. And it helps you make better decisions. It helps you spend time on more meaningful things that are important to us, and whether that's kiddos, whether that is our work environments, whatever it is, right? It just it's so important based on the times that we're in currently to really like hit this really hard. And we are happy to get very specific with topics. We've got, Jennifer, if it's something that you're like, oh, I really want like a class specifically on divorce, we'll write one
Well,
for
there's
you.
well, there's just so much alignment because you're infusing hope in the community and you're finding advocates to facilitate that. And that's the mission statement of Grit, which is,
Yes.
creating hope from hardship. So I love your work, and I'll reach out to the community to see what they were in need of in regards to mental health. And I would love to get back with you to see what that looks like. Because for me, I mean, I was navigating divorce with a family that had never had divorce in our family. So I was completely siloed, and my family didn't even understand what I was truly going through, and
Yeah.
then like you had mentioned earlier, that loneliness of being with your kids all the time, and then all of a sudden the house is quiet. And
Yeah.
it's just all of these transitions, and it's all at the same time. So no, I
Well, and there's a lot of shame, right? There's
well,
shame
yeah,
that
that
comes
too.
with that.
Yeah,
And
that too. Yeah.
when we realize that, it, yeah, we just have to kind of
Yeah.
get out from underneath that shame window and start to say, you know what? This happened to me. And it's happened to literally millions of other people
Yeah.
as well. We've got to stop feeling shame about some of the challenges that we have.
And then learn as women to ask for help, because generally we're always
Yes.
taking care of everybody else. So yeah, I
Yes.
love the content. Thank you so much. I'll make sure to send this syllabus out to everybody on the call, and I'll
Thank
send
you.
out a poll to our community to see what other mental health topics would be really relevant.
Great. We're happy to oblige in any way we can.
Awesome. Well,
Thank
All
thank you
right.
guys.
Thanks, you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.